yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 6th day of February 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the road, whether you're the driver of a vehicle, the rider of a bicycle, or if you're just propelling your own two wheels, those are your legs. I'm urging you to be extremely cautious on the road. Observe the rules of the road. Please be courteous. And always remember that the life that you save may just be your own. For those of you who have a birthday today, or you know someone who has a birthday today, please feel free to call in, leave the information with Miss Susan, unless you want to, if you want to announce it yourself, you just call in and we'll allow you to say that as well. But if you know someone and you want it to be acknowledged, please call in. We will acknowledge the person's birthday over the air. Today, one for sure that I know about, MLA and the MLA who represents the constituency of Bodden Town West in our Legislative Assembly, Mr. Christopher Saunders has a birthday today. So I want to say a happy birthday to Mr. Christopher Saunders as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are open during the course of the show, and you're welcome to join us in the conversation simply by calling us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. Put that on speed dial, please. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record at CANDW.KY. You can WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to leave us a text message or send us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Now, I did mention Mr. Chris Saunders' birthday today. If he's not on his way to the parliamentary prayer breakfast, he's probably already there, and that parliamentary prayer breakfast is taking place today at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. We know this is an opportunity. It's the speakers event, honorable speakers event. And I know that in many instances, lots of people are invited to it. A lot of people look forward to attending the Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast. I believe MLAs themselves are given the opportunity to invite certain numbers as well. And all who attend it find it extremely privileged to be there, and they certainly enjoy themselves when they're there. And I am certain that will take place today as well, that they will enjoy themselves. During the course of the show, probably the first part of the show, I will talk a little bit about the history of the Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast, because you have one in the United Kingdom, which is called the National Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast. And of course, there's one in the United States, which is called a National Prayer Breakfast as well. And I will point out the distinction between the two. But at the end of the day, the common theme, the commonality about them really all has to do with Christianity. Ms. Susan, do we have a caller? We have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. And I just want to remind you, there are no guests in the studio today, so it is all yours today. It is all yours today. Free to call in, and we'll talk about anything that you want to talk about, as long as it is legal and proper for us to talk about it. Let's go to the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Happy birthday to Mr. Saunders, Emily, Mr. Saunders also. No, I can't make a prayer breakfast. I'm thankful that I can invite. Today, I believe, is the 67th year since Her Majesty became Queen.
Okay.
Her father passed away on this day in 1952. I'm pretty sure it's today. It's also a birthday of sorts for Her Majesty to have become Queen upon the passing of her father, King George VI. I remember it. I was a young boy, but I remember when they got news. Have a wonderful day, sir. I'll try to listen off.
Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day as well, and it was nice hearing your voice this morning also. Okay, I think we have a couple more calls as well. Let's take those callers. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, sir. Pleasant good morning. I'm a resident that's lived in this community for the past 23 years.
Okay.
I have an issue that I've seen on the road. Very much I want it to be publicized. And the reason being, there is a particular taxi driver on the road that I think he have a slight issue. I am not sure, but I've seen on several occasions where he almost caused accidents on the road. He's an elderly person, but I think he needs to be removed from the road. I don't know if you want me to mention the name of the taxi publicly.
No, I wouldn't want you to mention the name publicly, but if you have any information in relation to maybe the license plate number of the taxi, if you could pass that on to Miss Susan, we will take a note of it and possibly pass it on to the Public Transport Board, or if the person is driving recklessly on the road, we can also pass that on to the Traffic Division of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and maybe they can have a look out for that person as well. Now, do you think that the person's driving has to do with their age or just their disposition?
Maybe he don't care, because every time that he makes some unnecessary drive on the road, he's responding and be cursing you and all that, and he know he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's his attitude, and it's very, very poor.
Okay. Well, if you have any information other than the name, if you pass that on to us, we will try to get that on to the authorities. And also we would also encourage you to maybe talk to the public transport people as well.
I will do so. This action is taken up because somebody going to lose their life this time.
Yes. I mean, just recently we saw videos that were circulating about two bus drivers racing on the road and one overtaken in the lane that has been designated for bicycles and walkers and runners as well, which is extremely dangerous. So we're happy that persons like you are highlighting this because, it's putting so many people's lives at risk and their safety.
I care about people's life, You're on the road, you gotta drive for yourself and other people. Don't drive like you're on the road by yourself.
Yeah, there's such a thing called defensive driving. I don't know if they teach it here in the Cayman Islands, but I'm not ashamed to say that when I was in New York and going to school, especially when I was doing my master's degree, I was also a driving instructor. And one of the areas that you place a lot of emphasis on in driving is defensive driving, making sure that you make allowances for mistakes that other drivers may make, and at the same time leaving yourself out when you're driving rather than being clustered up, leaving enough space in front of you, enough space to the side of you. So if you have to take evasive action, you can do that without imperiling the safety of others as well.
And another quick issue, I'm just going to take a minute to say that.
Sure.
And I've said it before in the past. The roundabouts here in the Cayman Islands, they're death traps. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I can find an accident in each roundabout because these drivers in the Cayman, they do not know how to use the roundabout, especially the one with the triple lanes and the double lanes. They do not know how to use it, and that is so poor.
Yeah.
When I enter a roundabout, I have my head around like it's on a spring. I mean, my head is going around like this just to prevent an accident. I mean, I'm so cautious for that. Each time I enter a runabout, it's like my head is not in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's behind me, and I'm telling you.
Well, make sure your head is turned in front and then using the rearview mirror to check behind you. Just a little pun there. But I think, caller, it speaks also to two things. The level of driving instruction that is given in this country and whether or not there should be a mandatory period, even if you're going to take your driving test, that you should at least have 1 or 2 lessons with a certified driving instructor before you go and take your road test. And the second thing is the quality of those road tests. Do we really, really put them through? Because some of the people that you see driving on the road, you wonder how in the world do they get a driver's license?
I will add another comment to that. And, back in the days before we have so many roundabouts here in the Cayman Islands, most of these drivers, they don't use the roundabout. And now Cayman Islands has so many roundabouts now, and they just don't know how to use it.
Yep.
So I think they need to go back to the drawing board.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. We have one more caller on hold. We're going to take no more callers. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, and you're welcome to participate in the conversation right here on For the Record. So please stay tuned. We will be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Cayman Craft Market is the only one of its kind in the Cayman Islands, as it is maintained and managed by the Tourism Attraction Board, a government-funded statutory authority. Since September 2005, located on the corner of Boilers Road and South Church Street in downtown Georgetown, at the site of the former Dr. Roy's homestead. The Cayman Craft Market was created to keep local art and craft thriving. It is a setting in which craft people can showcase Caymanian artistic culture to visitors, but also pass down traditional art forms to future generations.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
540 months.
16,425 days.
394,200 hours.
45 years.
That's how long we've been committed to serving you, and we won't stop there. Over the years, we have proudly grown with Cayman, making a difference in the community. That's why we're here to stand by you.
We are Cayman National.
And we thank you for standing by us for 45 years and counting.
Thinking of doing more to show your sweetheart you really care? Explore new roads together with the 2019 RAV4, Vamped Motors' #1 selling SUV. Save $2,000 off all 2019 RAV4s loaded with features you both will fall in love with, like maximum comfort and cargo space inside, eco mode for low fuel consumption, an audio system with USB and Bluetooth connectivity, vehicle stability and traction control to help you navigate wet roads, and advanced safety features to keep you and your loved ones safe. Do more for your sweetheart and save $2,000 now on the all-new 2019 RAV4 from Vamped Motors, Walkers Road.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guest in the studio, so it's your day or your time from 7:30 until 10 o'clock. We want to engage you in the conversation, either by you calling in, sending us text messages, emails, whatever. One of our listeners has written and said, good morning. Since you guys are on the topic of vehicles, I see a lot of flatbed trucks carrying a lot of guys in the back. And I know that those kind of vehicles are only insured to carry 3 persons. Why is it that this is happening all the time without any action? And I must say that only yesterday evening at around 4:45 on Thomas Russell Way, I was 2 cars behind one of those trucks that this writer is talking about and had occupants sitting on the back. Now, the rails of those trucks are no more than about 18 inches to 2 feet high, not designed to take passengers, and I believe it is against the law. The whole question has to do with enforcement. And, of course, we acknowledge that the police cannot be all places at all times. So I believe it is incumbent upon us as citizens, and law-abiding citizens at that, to report these instances. Write down the license plate number, report it to the police. The police will have their ways and means of doing things. I'm sure with a license plate number, they can then identify the registered owner of that vehicle, issue a warning to them, possibly. If this is not seen as interference or overreach, they can contact the insurer if they know who the insurer is and let them know that one of their insured parties is contravening the law as well. But we should not wait until there is a fatality, there's an accident, someone is killed or injured as a result of being a passenger on the back of those vehicles for us to take action. And I will say this as well without any fear of contradiction whatsoever, that 9 times out of 10, those vehicles are vehicles that are used in the construction industry, and they're carrying laborers on the back of those. So for those of you who are in the construction industry and you have those sorts of vehicles, we urge you, do not encourage your employees to ride on the back of those or your drivers to carry persons on the back of those as well. It all has to do with safety. Parliamentary prayer breakfast. In the United Kingdom, it is called the National Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast, and the National Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast is held with the permission of the Speaker and the Lord Speaker. So that would be the Speaker of the House of Commons and the Lord Speaker, who would be the Speaker in the House of Lords, and is an annual recognition of the contribution that Christianity makes to the national life of the UK. The National Prayer Breakfast in the United States is a yearly event held in Washington, D.C., usually on the first Thursday in February. The founder of this event was Abraham Vereide. The event, which is actually a series of meetings, and this is coming from Wikipedia. The event is actually a series of meetings, luncheons, and dinners. Has taken place since 1953, and it has been held at least since the 1980s at the Washington Hilton on Connecticut Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C. It is typically, in the United States, it's typically attended by about 3,500 guests, including international invitees from over 100 countries. It is hosted by members of the United States Congress and is organized on their behalf by the Fellowship Foundation, a Christian organization initially called the Presidential Prayer Breakfast. The name was changed in 1970 to the National Prayer Breakfast. It is designed to be a forum for the political, social, and business elite to assemble and build relationships. And it goes on to say, since the inception of the National Prayer Breakfast, several U.S. states and cities and other countries have established their own annual prayer breakfast events as well. And I would point out that one of the persons that I know who was instrumental in establishing the National Prayer Breakfast here in the Cayman Islands is the late Dr. Adlin Marin. And if any of you know others who were involved initially in that as well, I would welcome you to share that with us. But I do know that the late Dr. Adlin Marin was very instrumental in establishing the National Prayer Breakfast here in the Cayman Islands. I have about 4 minutes. Hope I can read fast. 50 years ago, on the 8th of February, that's as close as I can get to the 7th for today. And this is the Bordentown Report. 50 years ago, visitors' feedback stirs pride. This is from, again, Cayman Compass. Thanks to Miss Zita Mae Borden for sharing her collection with me, and it says here, in the February 8th, 1967 edition of the Caymanian Weekly, a precursor of the Caymanian Compass, Baden Town correspondent Miss Florence McCoy wrote, and we'll talk a little bit about Miss Florence McCoy later, a real trailblazer in the Cayman Islands as well. She says, recently, Mr. Oliver E. Jones, CLU, was in Grand Cayman. He is an agency manager for Manufacturers Life Company. The purpose of the visit was to give some training to Mr. Haig Borden of this district. Haig has been a life underwriter since the middle of last year. Mr. Jones was deeply impressed by the friendliness and courtesy of the Caymanians and hopes that the gentle touch will not disappear with the rapid growth of commercialization to these islands. How many people have really said that and expressed that opinion? And unfortunately, some of it is coming to pass. Says, although this was his first visit, he ascertained that the half has not been told about the natural beauty and attractiveness of this unique spot. Mr. and Mrs. Donald Armstrong from Port Richey, Florida, took up residence in this district for 3 months. They came first to this island 4 years ago, and this is their 4th visit. They have traveled widely in Europe, America, and Canada, teaching square and folk dancing. Mr. Armstrong served as an engineer, test pilot for 12 years, and they own a radio station in Port Richey. The Armstrongs enjoy the quiet and slow pace of living in Grand Cayman. During our conversation, I would say that they said the same things mentioned by Mr. Oliver E. Jones, and because of their wide experience of traveling, just checking the time at the same time to make sure that I don't go over the time, I have 1 minute left, of traveling, they enjoy the privileges of the unspoiled island. We welcome this lovely couple to Baden Town and will do our best to make them feel at home. I will read the rest of this article when we return from our 8 o'clock news. And remember, the 8 o'clock news goes for a maximum of 10 minutes now, and we're back on the air and ready to converse with you as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access to information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Ministry of Health Chief Officer Jennifer Ahern says a lack of data continues to hamper cancer research and cure efforts. Speaking to Radio Cayman on top of the steps of the Government Administration Building, the chief officer said the more people who sign up for the Cayman Islands Cancer Society Registry, the more government can be informed.
So right now the registry is voluntary. I want to actually take the opportunity to encourage everyone who is either a cancer survivor or has someone in their family who's a cancer survivor or who had cancer to get that information into the registry.
Ms. Ahern says the registry is completely confidential. Cancer Registrar Amanda Nicholson says by registering with the registry, you can get access to way more information about the various types of cancer.
You can learn how many people get cancer every year, what kinds of cancer are the most common. The big question that people seem to have is, do we have more cancer here than other places? And that's something we can learn as well. So it's very, very valuable information.
To find out more about the Cayman Islands Cancer Registry, you can visit cics.ky/registry. Georgetown Central MLA Kenneth Bryan and dozens of volunteers of all ages from civil servants, residents, business owners, and service club representatives cleaned up one area of the Scranton community over the weekend. Mr. Bryan says it's all in hope of building what the community needs.
We had close to 100 people come out that morning, and it made me really feel good that the community is in it together. It's not just the government or I just doing it for them. They want to be a part of it.
Mr. Bryan also thanked everyone, including private sector businesses and individuals, as well as service club representatives for doing their part. And the opening night reception of the Extra Cayman Arts Festival kicked off with brass. Several hundred people turned up for Sips and Sounds with the Island Brass Quintet at the Westin Ballroom Tuesday night. The quintet entertained the audience with a journey through the history of brass music. The Extra Cayman Arts Festival offers 3 days of music and entertainment. You can find out more by heading to CaymanArtsFestival.com. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Chris Barrow. The US envoy for North Korea, Stephen Biegun, is in Pyongyang to discuss details of the second summit between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. His arrival coincided with Mr. Trump's confirmation in his State of the Union address that the meeting would go ahead in Vietnam at the end of the month. In his annual address to Congress, President Trump repeated his call for political unity. He said an economic miracle was taking place, and the only things that could stop it were foolish wars, politics, and ridiculous partisan investigations. NATO member states have signed an agreement in Brussels making the Republic of North Macedonia their 30th member of the military alliance. Greece has long blocked its neighbours' membership because of their dispute over the country's name. The Greeks have a region called Macedonia. A Danish member of the Jehovah's Witnesses has been sentenced to 6 years in jail in Russia for religious extremism. Dennis Christensen is the first member of the Christian sect to be prosecuted there since the Russian Supreme Court ruled in 2017 that the organisation should be shut down. The former president of Senegal, Abdoulaye Wade, has called for this month's elections to be cancelled over fears they could lead to instability. Mr. Wade lives in France but is due to return to Senegal this week and is calling for peaceful protests. Reports from the Netherlands say that thousands of dead seabirds have been recovered from the beaches of North Holland in recent days. Experts are investigating whether the deaths are connected to a Panamanian-flagged vessel that in January lost almost 300 containers overboard. And a Japanese man has gone on trial after being accused of stealing dozens of used shoes that he'd sniff for sexual gratification. The 40-year-old apparently told police in the city of Saitama that it didn't matter if the shoes belonged to men or women, as long as they were well worn. And that's the latest BBC News.
Access and information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The 15th annual Cayman Economic Outlook returns on February 28th for another year of educating, informing, and stimulating the local community, bringing together industry thought leaders and business professionals to explore their theme, Dynamic New World, Braving the Turmoil. Speakers include economist Norina Hertz, University of Oxford professor Ian Golden, digital revolution journalist Andreas Ekstrom, biotechnology futurist Jamie Metzel, and professional surfer Mark Matthews. Tickets are selling fast. Reserve your seat at rfceo.ca. cayman.co.ky.
Pleasant good morning. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 78. Relative humidity is 84%. Barometric pressure 30.01 inches and rising. The wind is northeast at 11 knots. Overnight low temperature was 76 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. As a high-pressure system builds over the southeast United States. Radar images show isolated showers over the Cayman area moving west. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today and tonight, calling for mainly fair skies with less than 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s today and fall to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be northeast at 15 to 20 knots and seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet and small craft should exercise caution over open water. Low tide will be this morning at 8:59, high tide this afternoon at 2:28 and a low tide again tonight at 9:26. The sun will set this evening at 6:20 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:58. And the outlook is calling for fresh winds and rough seas to continue through Friday morning as the high-pressure system continues to build over the southeast United States. Good morning once again, and let's take a look what's happening on our roads. Busy traffic, some areas heavy traffic on Shamrock Road and on Linford-Pearson Highway. Slight delays expected as you make your way down to Georgetown. Steady traffic on Cool Road. Some sections are busy. Steady traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. On Godfrey Nixon Way, traffic flowing pretty good, as well as on Eastern Avenue. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. And coming from the West Bay four-way stop, moderate flow of traffic. Light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive. And on North Sound Road, traffic flowing moderately. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise. Have a good morning and buckle up.
CUC advises customers on Watercourse Road in West Bay that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Wednesday, February 6th between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Areas affected include all customers on Watercourse Road between the junction of Hell Road and the junction of Boatswain Bay Road, including Nettie Rivers Lane, Bowman Close, Hillendale Close, Cadbury Link, Windstart Drive, Bristol Close, Fruitland Way, Ruby Lane, Alexandra Close, and Knowles Close. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing Watercourse Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area, and will be required to temporarily block one lane on several sections of Watercourse Road. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. In summary, Watercourse Road and surrounding areas will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Wednesday, February 6th between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. For more information on the outage and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price.
Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio, so from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. we have open mic where you can call in, express your opinions, give us some advice if you have it. You can also WhatsApp us, 925-3261. Email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, CANDW.KY. Follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And of course, if you want to call in, we have a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Another listener has written and said, good morning, so true. We'll call later. I have lots to say about taxes and public transport. Go ahead. We'll await your call for you. And we know that you probably have Radio Cayman on speed dial as well. Continuing with 50 years ago on the 8th day of February, 1967, Miss Florence McCoy, a great teacher, a great Caymanian, as well, accomplished quite a bit, from the district of Bordentown. And she was the correspondent for the Caymanian Weekly at that point in time. So she was writing about these persons who had visited the Cayman Islands, were living in the district and loved the Cayman Island so well. So continuing on, she goes on to say, that there was a lovely gathering at the Bordentown Church of God, which she was a member of. I can say that, without fear of contradiction. Also, on January the 27th, and says the special occasion was a welcome service for the Reverend Dewey Johnson and family. The church was happy to have some of Georgetown and West Bay Fellowship present and appreciated the inspiring specials in song that were rendered. Says Reverend Compton Williams. Those of you in Bordentown and the islands may remember him. Reverend Compton Williams. The pastor welcomed the Johnsons back, especially to the church. Reverend Johnson is, in his remarks, mentioned that he was happy to be at home again after traveling quite extensively in the United States and Canada. He spoke of the church, especially expressing his appreciation by saying thanks for the time, the cooperation with them at present. And it goes on to say that the church here wishes for them another successful, and hopefully they will be able to help in any way possible to fulfill the responsibilities of the church in spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. Again, a clear demonstration of our Christian heritage. And I would venture to say that probably in 1967, and I may catch a little bit of hell for this, no pun intended, but I would say that in 1967, we here in the Cayman Islands were probably much, much, much closer to God than we are today. And I'm not talking about in terms of distance. I'm talking about in terms of our feelings and our actions towards our fellow human beings, the way we treat each other, the way we treat ourselves, as well. We were much, much closer to God in 1967 than we are in 2019. So, I have another district that we're going to talk about as well this morning. And if you give me a chance, I will get that for you. Coming up, we don't want to leave any of the districts out. And let's talk about East End, 50 years ago. And this was from the Caymanian Compass of the Friday, February the 10th, 2017, only 2 years ago. And this one talks about 50 years ago. And it says, in the February 8th, 1967 edition of the Caymanian Weekly, a precursor to the Caymanian Compass, Northside correspondent Miss Nettie McCoy wrote. So we had a Miss Florence McCoy in Bordentown and Miss Nettie McCoy in Northside. We have a caller, and since this article will take about 3 minutes to read, we're going to take the caller first, and then I will share East End echoes, with you, as well. Please stay tuned for the... Sorry, no, we're not going anywhere. We're going to the caller. Old age kicking in. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
This is Christian again.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, fairly good, fairly good. I was calling before you said about the Christian heritage. And just some observations I made. Some may think at first that it doesn't relate to Cayman, but has a great, great significance for Cayman. Right? So let me tell you first why. Cayman has always had a close relationship with Cuba. Right? And
you're drifting away. I can hardly hear you. I want to remind our callers, well, we have another, until we reconnect with that caller. Have we reconnected? Until we reconnect with him, I'm going to read something else. This writer says, I know that work permits bring good revenue for government. What about my investment? I invested in my employees only for them to cancel the work permit and move on, and nothing has been done about it. This is a case that needs to be looked into. I think that the department should review the person's application and have the person sent home for misleading me. I invested $370 for the first 3 months and $857.50 for the extension, another which is a total ripoff. She was paid the person was paid $250 weekly times that by 5. That's over $5,000. Minus, she got a bonus for Christmas and work permit fees. Good morning. So this person has a issue with a work permit holder, and they canceled. Person canceled the work permit, and now obviously is working for someone else. And I'll paint various scenarios. With this, of course, this person hasn't necessarily given me all of the details, and I can't really comment on this in particular unless I had all of the details. But I must say that yes, employers need to be protected, especially when they bring employees here and they have spent considerable amount of money to bring someone here to work, only later on to find that person has canceled their work permit and possibly given a work permit for someone else. Now, I know that the Immigration Department will look into the circumstances, especially if the former employer has written in and given their side of the story in terms of what has transpired between between them and their former employee. And that may be taken into consideration when granting another work permit. I'm not sure what the position is now, because at one time we used to use a terminology in the Cayman Islands, job hopping, and people were not allowed to job hop, moving from one job to the other at will or at a rapid pace, because it usually spoke or said something about that person when they kept moving from one job to the other as well. But certainly employers have to be protected, but employees also have to have some rights as well. And depending on the conditions under which they have worked and the reason for terminating their employment, those are the things that will be taken into consideration when the Immigration Department which will now be work, will take into consideration when considering or granting another work permit as well. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning again. I hope it's better now.
Yep, much better.
Okay. Yeah, but let's talk about Christian principles, no? Look at it, the difference between America and Cuba. Because what happens between them affects Cayman a lot. Now, they say Cuba is a communist country. But look at what they're doing biblically. Their former government is similar to the disciples had in the early church, when the people brought in everything, and the disciples supplied everybody that had need, which is more or less what Cuba is doing. When John asked Jesus, "Are you the one?" he said, "Yes." "Show John what you see." The sick are being healed and the poor are getting education, which is what Cuba is doing. So they're doing what the Bible, Jesus said you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Now compare some of the things from America to Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find anyone living on the streets, eating a garbage cans in Cuba, as they do in America. Many Cubanos have been up there, Cuba know that. There's nobody dying for water medical care, as they do in America. Right? There's many people that can't get a good education in America because in Cuba it's all free. Now, these are just some of the things, right? So they are fighting against people who are doing the will of God, right?
Yep.
Now, these are good Christian people in America, and you can't be in the government because they say they are democracy, which is, to me, a government where 51% of the people own 51% of the wealth. That doesn't look like great democracy to me. But now, the last positive is, now they tried hundreds of ways to kill Fidel. They tried all invasion. That couldn't work because now they're going after Venezuela. Why don't they just keep out of the business of other countries? They're telling me, people, don't buy Venezuela oil. Don't buy Venezuela gold. What business do they have interfering in the government and politics of another country?
But would you, caller, when you look at the situation in Venezuela, based on what we know, the information that we're getting out, and you look at the situation in Cuba and government policies, would you say that Cuba and Venezuela, that they're comparable? Or I think it's almost like chalk and cheese what is happening in Cuba. You may want to call Cuba a benevolent dictatorship. I'm not sure that you could call Venezuela the same. I think it's a little bit more repressive. You see people leaving in droves. You see people starving. But yet, Cuba has been one of the beneficiaries of Venezuela's oil wealth.
That may be true, but look, on the other hand, a lot of the problems in Venezuela are caused by America. With the embargo, some them people buying their stuff, right?
We can say the same thing about Cuba.
No.
Huge embargo against Cuba by the Americans for years, since 1959.
Even with that embargo, Cuba now has one of the lowest infant mortality rates, one of the highest standard of education. And why is America keeping this embargo against them? They have no reason for it. But America does not want Cuba to prosper more. And right at their doorsteps, they have someone giving free medical care, free education, when they're supposed to be the richest country in the world, and they cannot do it.
Carla, I'm going to ask you to leave us there, but I'll just point out one more thing to you. Do not underestimate the power of the Cuban lobby in the United States, especially the South Florida region, as well as New Jersey, where you have a huge concentration of Cubans, of Cuban descent, or Cubans who left Cuba, and the power that they have and the clout that they have over the Republican Party. But I'm going to ask you to leave us there so we can take another caller before we go to our next commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine. And yourself?
It would be much better. But you know what? You're on a touchy subject this morning. Every time you guys bring up that immigration department, it burns my soul. Only when you were there, things were working right, you know, Mr. O.C.
Oh.
Since you left, everything went down the drain. I'm sorry, I'm telling you straight and clean because I've experienced it.
Okay.
I have had so many people on work permits, and I've experienced and I've seen it where they've just job hopping from a 1 month to a 3 month or a 1 year permit, whatever it might be, and they just decide that, oh, this is not a job I really came here. This is not really what I qualified for, and I could have gotten this job, so I'm here now, so I can get something better. And I've seen it, and I have complained to immigration. I've gone there, I've had meetings with them, I've written letters on one particular person who was dangerous to another person, right? They brought them here as a helper, and I went to immigration with that person. We wrote letters, and the woman still was allowed to remain here with nothing done about it until she was job hopping, till she went to Canada. A Filipino it was. And Cayman need to really, 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 really look into who they're hiring and bringing into these Cayman Islands, because we do not know these people who we are hiring. We don't know if they're criminals, because especially India and the Philippines, they are the most forgers of documents and medications. That's all I got to say. God bless the three Cayman Islands, and you're doing a great job, Mr. O.C. You keep it up. I'm rooting for you, always in your corner, even when I don't call. I wave you on the road all the time. I see you riding too. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. You have a blessed day as well, caller. Do we want to go to commercial now, Ms. Susan? We have 2 minutes so we can take another caller. No callers. Oh, we have no callers. Oh, we have writers, though. Says, good morning to you all at For the Record. This is in regards to tendering of private companies, tendering by private companies to government. Says, we are Caymanians. We need to talk. We need to utilize the public medias and speak out on these issues. We have former government employees losing their homes and positions in government due to private companies. We have former government workers turning to crime and drugs and other illegal activities. We have Caymanians that can do the work. We shouldn't have to turn to private companies to clean or protect our people and children attending our schools. Government buildings on a whole should have Caymanians that are trained, monitored, and controlled by the government. I applaud some of the politicians that are trying, but it is not enough, because Caymanians have to live in Cayman, and we can't afford to work for cheap labor companies that are paying $6 and $7 an hour, especially when pensions and insurance is involved, which is a must. The only way things are going to change is by public expression. We have to talk as Caymanians. Get on the talk shows and talk and keep talking. So a person has an issue with Caymanians and jobs, and I agree with that. writer that we have to continue to push. We have to continue to push. There is no reason why Caymanians who are able and willing to work in the Cayman Islands should not be able to do so, and should also be able to earn a living wage, a wage that will help them to sustain themselves. There is no reason whatsoever, for that. Yes, businesses that invest must get a return on their investment, but that return on investment should not be so high that it is at the peril of Caymanians, because they know that Caymanians will not go and work for the hourly wages that are offered to others who come from jurisdictions where if it is a $4 an hour wage, it is $4 more than they would ever make in their country, as well. Not wanting to pit any nationality against the other, but I think those people who continue to resonate and to talk about the fact that Caymanians are not necessarily given some Caymanians are not necessarily given a fair shake in this country, I think that they have, very strong and very good points. The question is, how do we address it? Who should be addressing it? And whether or not we just simply want to hear talk when it comes to election time, or we have people who will be prepared to not only tell you what they're going to do, but how they're going to do it as well. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
My dad is the best. He was always there to protect me and guide me to be a better person. He helped shape me into the woman that I am today. But I was never prepared for the day that I had to protect and take care of him. It was terrifying and a total role reversal. But I will always be there for him like he was for me. When it comes to his medical care, I go where he always did, West Bay Pharmacy.
We know the difficulty of caring for elder family members. At West Bay Pharmacy, we can help assist you with caring for your loved ones by providing quality medicine and some of the most efficient home healthcare items possible. We provide precise calculations with your prescriptions to ensure your medical safety. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. Thinking of doing more to show your sweetheart you really care? Explore new roads together with the 2019 RAV4, Vamped Motors' #1 selling SUV. Save $2,000 off all 2019 RAV4s loaded with features you both will fall in love with, like maximum comfort and cargo space inside, eco mode for low fuel consumption, an audio system with USB and Bluetooth connectivity, vehicle stability and traction control to help you navigate wet roads, and advanced safety features to keep you and your loved ones safe. Do more for your sweetheart and save $2,000 now on the all-new 2019 RAV4 from Vamped Motors, Walkers Road.
Can you imagine where Cayman runs off renewable energy? We can. Learn how you can join government and be an energy advocate.
Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure's Facebook page to learn more.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Do we have any callers on hold, Miss Susan? One caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Okay, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Happy birthday, belated birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And I hope you had a good one. And may God continue to bless you and give you lots of health and strength to continue doing what you're doing until you're about 100.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I guess you're all alone this morning, except for our nice little lady there named Susan.
Oh, yeah. She's a great person.
Yes.
I think she would do well on this side of the mic, too, you know.
I know. Anita. They both have voices alike. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. Anita on the Saturday morning. Yeah, she'd be anyway. Getting to about workers in this island. You see, O.C., we all know that some. I want to stress this point. Some politicians can be bought, and that's what has always happened. That's why people can bring in, because they have to have a work permit before they enter this island. Some come in without any, and 2 weeks later or a week later, they have a work permit. Apparently, the airline isn't. If they say that they're going to the Cayman Islands to work, they have to show that they are legal to work in the Cayman Islands. But for goodness sake, that's not good enough for us the people, us the Caymanians that need to work in our own country and can't find a job because of you over experience, you're over this and you're over that. Who in the world would not want a well experienced person to work for them? Who in the world? But you see, it can be stopped. It can be stopped. Only we got to take the right things to do about it. If you bring a professional person in here, hopefully it's a professional or it's the one that is going to say that they're professional and they let it go fly like that. Limit the time that they're going to be here. Limit the time. 2 years, 3 years. But Caymanians must understudy that person. What's so hard to do about that? I've been saying it for a long time. What's so hard to do? It's been done before, and you only got a 2 year or 3 year, and then you would have to leave the island. You got them out there, even working in the tourism department, that cannot understand English. I've been to places that you order something, and then they had to call their colleague that speaks a little English, and then they communicate with each other who ordered what in their language, mostly Spanish.
Yeah, hopefully, caller, that will change. And of course, we see now the court case that is going through the courts, and we would hope that the whole language issue, whether or not the person has sufficient command of the English language to be able to work in the Cayman Islands and communicate with people in the Cayman Islands, that will be has been addressed, and as a result of what we're seeing coming out in the court case.
We can hope so, but don't the representatives of this island coming down from the deputy governor straight down, don't they realize if we continue to just get the foreign or the cheap labor, as we want to call it, with then they buy old cars, pollution, then they have to stay in places that it was never any inspection nor any planning ideas nor nothing. You see cords, electrical cords from one place to the next, and they washing outside in a bucket and all that. What does that do for the island? Just so the rich can get richer, and us Caymanians get poorer and poorer, and then they got to turn around and put more into social services so we can live off of the government when we should be having jobs, people that want to work. There is always countries in this world that have lazy people, But when they want to get rid of a Caymanian, that's the first thing they say. They're lazy. And we know a lot of that may be true. We know a lot of that is not true. It's just that they want cheaper labor to continue building their pockets and building more houses and building whatever. But we need to do something, and I mean fast. I really thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and a happy birthday again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. You have a great day. Also, we have another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. You had a birthday?
Yesterday.
Oh, where was the party?
Well, what we say down in our little group that we hang out with, once your birthday comes, we party. There's a party every day celebrating until the next one comes around.
That's what I say about Christmas and Valentine's. There it is Christmas, there it is Valentine's. I just want to tell Miss Charlene good morning, and what she's talking about there, that's Cayman. And it's a shame to see that how we can bring cheap labor here and let these people come here and live in these rundown apartments and got 10 and 12 cars parked up in the yard all around the house. But I didn't call to talk about it. I just want OC. I just ask you to give me Miss Georgette time and let me say what I have to say, then we can come in on what I have.
Go right ahead. Oh, the only thing is that we have I think we're going to have a commercial break in 3 minutes. So what we can do, if you're still talking at that point in time, we'll keep you on hold, go to the commercial, and then return to you afterwards.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Go right ahead.
Anyhow, Mr. O.C., I just called to say that I mentioned it two times already this week to some of the government people. Mr. O.C., the public transport.
Mm-hmm.
We, as taxi drivers, do not have any communication with that department whatsoever. We go there once a year to apply for our permit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And every time you go there, they got something new for you. But, they got your email, they got your phone number, they got everything, and they do not correspond with you. They don't correspond with me, at least. I don't know nothing about them corresponding with me. Every time I go there, I ask them, well, what's new on the agenda for this year? But they told me last month, nothing. I went and got all my papers, and I submit them back in a week later. Now there's on the street now that we have to put these yellow banners on our cars saying tax at 1224. Public buses has a big banner saying public bus. And I understand now that...
And the banners are required to go where? Where on the vehicle?
On the back of the windscreen and the front windscreen. You got to have it two places on your taxi or your public bus, apparently. I saw a few taxis has it up there. And have they
told you a reason why they want to have that there? Is it for more visibility for people who may want a taxi?
I don't know, because they haven't gone back for my ID yet, and no one has called and said it's ready. So it's been in there over 3 weeks now, and I don't know if it's red or not. I'm giving them time, because I really know. I don't think it's really the old one expired fully yet. I'm not sure how it runs. I tried to put mine in earlier, right? Anyhow, Mr. O.C., the thing with this banner, why do we need so much information as a taxi driver in this little baby island we call the Cayman Islands? Are this banner going to go on the school buses? That the school buses, license plate says taxi. That's what they're putting on the school buses now. They are listed under taxi, and it's written on their license. Okay, that's like mine. Are they going to put this banner on the school buses? I'm hoping public transport listening. Public transport.
No, I would imagine not so, because while they may be in the same category, a bus, a school bus certainly isn't a taxi.
It isn't, Mr. O.C., but it comes under the category of a taxi. It's licensed a taxi. The taxi license says taxi. We got the hotels that has their own shuttle cars that come to the airport. They say taxi. I want to know if they can put the banner on them too, because what is good for one is good for all.
Yeah.
And I understand it's not gazetted to have all this foolishness stick up on you as a taxi driver.
It may not have to be. It may not have to be gazetted. It may not. Well, if if it's a part of the regulations may need to be gazetted. Yes, but we're going to put you on hold. We're going to do a commercial, and don't hang up. We're coming right back to you. Let's do the commercial, and we'll be right back to you, caller.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Thinking of doing more to show your sweetheart you really care? Explore new roads together with the 2019 RAV4, Vampt Motors' #1 selling SUV. Save $2,000 off all 2019 RAV4s loaded with features you both will fall in love with, like maximum comfort and cargo space inside, eco mode for low fuel consumption, an audio system with USB and Bluetooth connectivity, vehicle stability and traction control to help you navigate wet roads, and advanced safety features to keep you and your loved ones safe. Do more for your sweetheart and save $2,000 now on the all-new 2019 RAV4 from Vampt Motors, Walkers Road.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to resume our conversation with the caller that we had before we went to the commercial break. Caller, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay.
You're on Miss Georgette Stein now.
yes. Thank you so much. I hope she's doing well this morning.
I hope so, too.
OC, I'm just saying that every time you go to public transport, they have a surprise for you. Why do you have to wait one whole year to go up to that office to hear that you have to get a banner now, or you have to pay from $96 for a urine test to $116 for a urine test? And if it doesn't meet the cap mark at the hospital, they tell you have to buy a new cap over $13. Lack of communication in public transport, lack of communication at the airport as well, and I'll get to that in a second. And when I say lack of communication with public transport, they have all the information on us. They don't give us no emails. They don't do nothing with us. They don't have no meetings with us or nothing. You know your license costs you $300 a year, okay? You go and you say, okay, this is for my license, my ID. And then when you go up there, they're going to tell you have to have these two banners. They're going to cost you $150 extra on that $300 when you know that you did not put that into your budget. Or see, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not here wanting anything for free. But you communicate with me and respect me and my other taxi drivers as ambassador for this island, and we are just as important as immigration and customs when those visitors walk through those doors to come outside to us from the cruise ship or the airport. You understand?
So you were saying that you were never made aware of that these banners would be required before you went there, and they told you that?
When I went there the first week of January, I asked them, I said, well, what is new on the agenda for this year? The young lady said nothing. I said, well, great. She gave me my paperwork, and I went and I started getting my paperwork done. Now I went back and I submit my paperwork like a week and a half later, roughly about 2 weeks. And I gave her my paperwork, and she signed me off and said everything was in order. So I left, and I said, okay, I'll wait for it to, be processed. And then just last week on here, a taxi driver come to me and tell me that they will not make them put their ID permit in until they buy their banners, order their banners, whatever, to be put on their van. And so husband and wife have their banners on their van now. I see other taxi drivers putting these banners up.
And these are new banners, something that you never had on a vehicle before.
On the tax itself. The public buses got their banners in public bus, and we know that those public buses are not public buses because the day that somebody get killed in one of those public buses, then government gonna make them take that sign down.
But just for clarity, caller, for taxes, what is required for you to have on your vehicle at this point in time that I, as a a public, as a private person, would be able to recognize you on the road as being a taxi? What are you required currently? Not speaking about the banner that you're talking about now. What are you required currently to have on there that will identify you to me as a potential passenger as a taxi?
Okay, we have the big yellow taxi sign.
Mm-hmm.
Got taxis has them.
Okay.
And then we got taxi written out on the majority of cars saying taxi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got our ID number on our taxis as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Our license plate say taxi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All that we're wearing right now on
Okay.
a regular taxi.
Okay.
And that been working as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. O.C., the thing with public transport and public buses can go various places and do as they please, but we as taxi drivers cannot go and do as these public buses do. They can go to the hotel under the umbrella and pick up. Okay? And we are allowed to come to them places. The public buses are supposed to be on the road, not coming into the hotels, or unless public transport and them change the plan and do not notify us to say, well, on all rocking under one category now, everybody can go wherever they want to go. Mr. O.C., if I come in town right now and I see 4 visitors flag me down, I'm not supposed to actually stop for those visitors.
Roadside pickups like that, you're allowed.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the public buses can do it.
Okay.
To each his own. You understand? That's fine and good. Let them go.
And the public buses can stop anywhere as opposed to having designated. We still don't have. We know we have bus stops out there, but do we have them in such a way that if I am, let's say, if I'm near a particular location, I know that I have to go the next block over, or the next street over, and that's where the public bus is going to be? Or public buses can pick up anyone that they see on the roadside who flags them down?
Yeah, they can pick up anyone who flags them down.
Okay.
But we as taxi drivers, we can't do it.
Okay. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there, though. I think I have given you some, quite a bit of latitude there, would you say?
Yes, I'll call you back if I'm in need.
Yeah, but we have a lot of time. Remember, we're going till 10 o'clock now as well, so I don't want to be left alone in the studio, so you can call back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more caller, Miss Susan? Okay, we have a WhatsApp that we received from someone as well, so we're going to play that WhatsApp now also.
Good morning, everyone. This message is especially directed to our host, Mr. Orrett Connor. Mr. Orrett Connor, I see you as one of the best things ever happened to Cayman, even from the time that you were in immigration. I see, and I've followed you for years, many years, even when you're not in Cayman and we're back living in New York. And I know that you are a good man who loves his Cayman people. What I'm saying this morning is that when next election comes, although you are doing an exceptional and very good job there at Radio Cayman, trust me, sir, I want to see you join all the ranks at that legislative assembly to deal with your Cayman people and to help us through some trial times that we are going through. We need you in next election. That's what I have to say this morning. I don't want to hear you at Radio Cayman in next election. I want to be out there campaigning for you. Yes, sir. That's it. And good morning.
Well, I want to thank that caller for that strong vote of confidence in me. I would just say that there have been many politicians who have been good orators, been the ability to talk, the ability to hold an argument, and then they turn out to be a dud when it comes to public administration and delivering, for people. Not saying that I would be that type of person. I certainly would give it my best shot. But I believe that, my time behind this mic, I'm enjoying this. And if it is only to bring awareness and to keep people, on their toes, that would be, a good job as well. But I want to thank that caller for, for her confidence. We have no calls, so we're going to have 4 minutes. 50 years ago, on the 8th of February, 1967, edition of the Caymanian Weekly, a precursor to the Caymanian Compass, Northside correspondent Miss Nettie McCoy wrote, "The monthly social tea of the Women's Guild was carried through at the cottage on January 27th. After singing of the Guild hymn, and this would have been, I believe, what we call the Women's Guild, prayer and a quiz, a very happy time was spent together enjoying refreshments. Says Guild Sunday was observed on the 29th at 7:30 p.m. when Mrs. Joyce Williams presided over the service. There was a short program by a few of the Guild members. Mrs. Roy Schember, who arrived in the islands in the morning, was the guest speaker for the evening. Says she gave a very inspiring talk to the Guild and expressed pleasure at being able to share in the Guild Day service." And is quoted as Miss Nettie McCoy also says, "Those arriving home over the past few days," and this is how we knew when people travel. People sneak off the island now. They want anyone to know when they're going anywhere. In 1967, everybody knew who came and went. And says, "Those arriving here over the past few weeks were Mrs. Amy Ebanks from Cayman Brack, where she had been spending time with her daughter, Mr. Walter B. Ebanks, Mr. Nevin Miller, Mrs. Burke LeBorden, and her grandsons. They say that the telephone booth has now been completed, and installation of telephone and the necessary facilities are now in order. One has only to drop in a coin now and be easily connected to friends and business partners in town. It is quite an improvement, and we wish to thank Cable and Wireless." So telephone service then, came into place in Northside. Says Mr. Richard Chisholm left on January 31st to take up work with National Bulk Carriers. Mr. Edward Chisholm left on the 4th for Kingston to take Mrs. Edward Chisholm, to take her little son, Ed, for medical care. And those leaving on the 8th were Messrs. Nevin Miller, Dolores Whitaker, and Mr. and Mrs. Ryworth Whitaker. Christian Endeavor Week was observed in this charge. When you say charge, you're talking about the district. Those are terminologies that you used to hear those days that you no longer hear. Christian Endeavor was observed in this charge, and a very profitable time was spent in Christian Endeavor Fellowship with the various societies and exchange visits and sharing programs. And then goes on to say on the 2nd, the Borden Town Society visited here, and an enjoyable service was carried through. And goes on to say in the evening, the Reverend R. Schember met with members of the church and led a very helpful discussion in stewardship. All about religion, all about Christianity in the Cayman Islands in the 60s. And I again repeat, I believe that we were much closer to our Savior, to God, in 1967 than we are today in 2019 here in the Cayman Islands. And I believe a lot of people would agree with me on that as well. Let's go to Headline News at 9 o'clock. When we return, the conversation will continue.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, these are the biggest stories right now.
The Department of Environment is warning seasonal lobster and conch fishers to adhere to take and possession limits set by the National Conservation Law, following reports investigated over the past 2 weeks. In addition to enforcing possession limits during the open fishing seasons, conservation officers are also cautioning the public against the use of spear guns without the proper license. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced in his State of the Union speech that he will hold a second nuclear summit with North Korea's leaders this month. In an address to the nation with the theme Choosing Greatness, he vowed once again to build a border wall. While appealing for political unity, the Republican president also said, quote, ridiculous partisan investigations could damage U.S. prosperity. In a rebuttal, Democrats accused Mr. Trump of abandoning U.S. values. And Pope Francis has admitted that clerics have sexually abused nuns, and in one case, they were kept as sex slaves. It is thought to be the first time that Pope Francis has acknowledged the sexual abuse of nuns in the clergy. He said the church was attempting to address the problem, but said it was still, quote, going on. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I must say that in this studio and at home, I'm like a child in a candy shop or a child in a toy shop with the treasure trove of information that I have between the electronic copies of the Tradewinds newspaper for 1965-66, and I possibly some for 67 as well that I got from Miss Joellen Thompson, and now from Miss Zita Mae Bawden, her collection of the Caymanian Compass's issues relating to 50 years ago in the Cayman Islands and district by district. I am so happy to be able to share those information with you, and I hope that you are enjoying it as well. I was telling someone about a picture of Mr. James Thomas. I think it was Alan Moore I was talking to about that because, you know, in the evenings we go down to Rock Hole and we play dominoes, right? But before we play dominoes, we sit down and we talk. Sometimes we want to hear gossip. And we will say, give me a book, want to hear this, want to hear that. And, you know, there are some amongst our group who know a little bit more gossip and have a little bit more gossip than others. And I must say I'm a pretty good listener. So you know what that means. I hear more than I give. And of course, can't forget Lord Graham about that as well, even though I know he's not listening this morning because I'm sure he's at the parliamentary prayer breakfast as well. But this particular article here in the Compass, and this is dated the December the 23rd, 2016, and it is an article by George Nowak. George Nowak, known as the Barefoot Man, and it says it's entitled the people time forgot. And it says James Thomas. And I would say that while it may be the people that time forgot, they're not the people that our people forgot about, because we still remember them. They have fond memories in our hearts and in our minds because of, in many instances, of their particular abilities and skills that they have. So Mr. Nowak writes and says, in this image, James Thomas receives a Christmas kiss from two young ladies, possibly members of his family. The photograph dates to the late 1970s and was taken at the annual Senior Citizens, at the Rotary, Senior Citizens Christmas party, where the attendees came from all districts throughout the island. For those with no transportation, Rotary would pick them up for the gala. Mr. Thomas, who passed away in the mid-1980s, was known on the island as an accomplished musician who played the saxophone. He would often bring his sax to the Rotary functions and join Radler Gazung and the Happer Boys from East End. Yes, Mr. James Thomas, and we also need to know that Mr. James Thomas was legally blind person, but a great musician as well. So while time may have forgotten people like Mr. James Thomas, people of Cayman, in particular the people of Georgetown, in particular the people in the Shedden Road, Scranton area would have known Mr. James Thomas and remembered him as well. And accomplished musician. And my good friend Alan Moore, could tell you that Mr. James Thomas would, sometimes when he'd be out in the yard, he could tell who was walking through the yard simply based on their footsteps. And at the same time, I pointed out to you that Mr. James Thomas was, visually challenged person, legally blind and everything. But he could tell, based on the person's footsteps, who was walking through his yard as well. Any calls, Miss Susan? We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning again. I won't be long this time. Just a few minutes.
That's okay. Go ahead.
A few things I wanted to point out. When you talk about all the Cubans are leaving, going to the States, there's also a lot of Caymanians leaving, going away because of the oppression that's being suffered now in Cayman by the rich and powerful. Right? And then not all, you see all those Cubans that go in America are against Cuba. You remember a few years ago when Castro picked up a lot of, they have one main office in Miami, which all the other branches report to, right? Then they're planning this invasion of Cuba. Just one day, the secretary from the main office that everything passes through went back to Cuba with a few suitcases full of papers, never came back to America. And shortly after that, Cuba started picking up all these, what America called dissidents. Actually, they were traitors. They should be taken out and shot. But there are many Cubans in America. And like I said, they realize, and a lot of other countries are realizing that even with embargo, the heights that Cuba has reached with medical and education, and America is offering their sportsmen millions of dollars to come over there to work. And if they were talking about Venezuela, that is another problem. That would affect Cayman. But another day, Ms. Osi, another day.
Okay, thank you very much, caller, for that as well. Switching gears now, and I'm going to go to an article in the Tradewinds newspaper, November the 25th, 1965, way back in time. And you may have heard me talk before, not today, but on previous occasions, about the Evening Institute that had been established at the secondary modern school by Teacher Macfield. And the classes were oversubscribed. Because what the Evening Institute was designed to do was those persons who had left school and possibly even working after, to give them an opportunity to continue their studies in various fields and to earn proper certification as a result. And like I said, it was oversubscribed in terms of the number of people registering for it. So in this November 25th, 1965 issue of the Tradewinds newspaper, established by Mr. Billy Bawden. You would have heard me say this before, and if I sound like a broken record, it's just that I want to continue to repeat it so that those of you who have heard it before, it reinforces it and you will know what it's all about. And those of you who are hearing it for the first time will know about the history of one of the prominent newspapers here in the Cayman Islands in the mid-60s, the Tradewinds newspaper. So Mr. Billy Bawden, coming from the United States, a Caymanian, living in the United States, in the Florida area, working for the Miami Herald Tribune newspaper, wanted to establish a paper here in the Cayman Islands, made contact with people. Mr. Arthur Bawden, that is the late father of Mr. Truman Bawden, and Mr. James MacDonald, a Canadian lawyer living here in the Cayman Islands. They basically bankrolled the Tradewinds newspaper. Mr. Stanley Panton, the late Stanley Panton, was an associate editor of the Tradewinds newspaper as well. And you had people who worked there, people like Miss Ardith Smith, Mr. Roland Gerzong as the pressman. My sister, Anna Smith, worked there as a accounts officer, I believe she was there. And then you had some people who were brought in with technical skills from the U.S. and stuff like that. And, of course, Mr. Billy Bawden himself. So in this issue of the Tradewinds newspaper, the Evening Institute, I'm going to just read part of it and then we're going to take the caller. It says, T.E. Macfield, principal of the Cayman Islands Government Secondary Modern School, has announced that while the sympathy and well wishes of the Hotel Association, the Global Seamen's Union, and the University of the West Indies are anticipated, as well as their assistance in compiling some of the syllabuses of the Institute, direct aid from or assumption of direct responsibility for the venture by them is not being relied on. So what he's saying is, while we anticipate assistance from Hotel Association, Global Seamen's Union, University of the West Indies, and he anticipates their assistance in assisting with the syllabuses and stuff like that, that at the end of the day, he is the man who is going to be in control. So he put down his marker there. He's the man who is going to be in control. And I'll read the rest of it during the course of the show, but we're going to our phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Oh, sorry, we have to take a break first, and we're going to ask the caller to hold on. I'm getting so carried away now, Miss Susan, I'm not even looking at the clock anymore. I have to reform my ways and conform. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Pharmacy Group would like to thank the Cayman communities for their continuous support for over the past decade. CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy opened its doors in March 2000. West Bay Pharmacy first opened their doors in March 2004. The Cayman Pharmacy Group was established in July 2007. Throughout the years, our CPG family has provided more than just pharmaceuticals to our loyal friends and customers. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has protected the lives of our medical community by securing the best healthcare advice and pharmaceutical services. To us at CPG, you are more than just a number. So, we are taking the time to say thank you for choosing CPG. The Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. And I just want to share this with you as well. This is coming from Mr. Denzel Barnes' daughter, Miss Sherry Ann Smith. And if he was alive, he would have been celebrating his birthday today as well. And he's sadly missed. Happy birthday in heaven from his children, the late Mr. Denzel Barnes as well. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Hey, good morning, Doc. How are you?
Yeah, this is Steve McFeel. Yeah, I would like to clarify and to correct the record of Nowak.
Okay. James Thomas?
James Thomas. James Thomas never played the saxophone. James Thomas was a clarinetist.
Clarinet, yes.
James Thomas's instrument was the clarinet. And there were two clarinetists that were at the time in Cayman. It was Kitchener Solomon and James Thomas. And sometimes they played together in the same band. And there was another person who played clarinet, but he didn't have a formal band. That was Dalmini Banks from West Bay. And Dalmini Banks from West Bay sometimes played the saxophone.
But Doc, if I can interrupt you for a second here. He says here in this article that he would often bring his saxophone to the Rotary functions and with them. Now, I'm not sure whether or not Mr. Novak was a member of the Rotary, but I would, and not questioning your wisdom, but I would have thought that with Mr. Novak being a musician, that he would know the difference between a trombone and a sax.
James Thomas never played the saxophone.
Okay, I hear you.
He played the clarinet.
I hear you.
All his life, played the clarinet.
I hear you.
He never played the saxophone.
Okay.
So he could not have bring a saxophone because I don't think he had one. And I say the other person who played the clarinet was Kitchener Solomon. I think that the saxophone, the saxophone as an instrument in a band where leading instrument came from the people from Jamaica, like Howell and
Mr. Nemard. Mr. Nemard played the sax, yeah?
Yeah, they died the other day.
I think so,
yeah. But James Thomas was the clarinetist, one of the best that we produced.
Okay.
In the Cayman Islands, and of course, of course, he played for all the national dances that was put on by the government,
Mm-hmm.
and at the national festivals, like the garden parties in East End and Northside and Bottom Town, and sometimes when he had a special car that would take his band up to these places and so forth. So Novak doesn't know much about James Thomas. Otherwise, he would not have written that inaccurate account of the instrument that he played.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And as far as kissing girls, he had a string of ladies following his band wherever they went.
Mm-hmm. No, the kissing part of it has it was a picture that was taken in his later years, and two young children on each side of him, and he's presuming that they may be relatives.
Probably, because he had children by different people.
Okay.
Different men.
Okay. Now the name Thomas, not necessarily a common Caymanian name, a last name.
I don't know where that name came from. I don't know if it was an adopted name or where that name came from. I never asked him when he was alive,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked, but I will ask my sister.
Okay.
Who knows a lot about that side of the family.
Uh-huh.
That side of the family in the whole area. But I know that he was some sort of family to Miss Ida, Dias and Captain Toms and all of those people. He was some sort of family to them because I think that his house was right opposite to where Tom Dias lived at the time. But I know he was some family to the Dias family.
Okay. Now, and could we assume that maybe James Thomas was what he was called, and he may have had another formal name?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Last name at least.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, that name was not a name in that area.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a prominent name in that area.
No.
Because Beck and Awawi and families and all of those families down there was no one named Thomas down there as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been his father or something, or his mother might have been from someplace else. I don't know. Could have been from Jamaica, or it could have been from Cuba, or one of those places, or Honduras, or one of those places.
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay.
Where the name was derived from. But he was a great clarinetist. He played in all the dances, the town hall, in the 1940s and the 1950s up until the 1960s, when the sound system took over, and then the band started, the modern band started to form in Cayman, like Humble and the Meek and all of those places, and the most glorious remembrance I have of him is playing at the Christmas marches after the businesses closed on Christmas Eve night. His band and all the men from Georgetown would do the serenading from house to house.
Yes,
I remember one morning when my mother said, "You're big enough now, you're old enough now, you can join those men on the march." And that was the sort of route to manhood. And he had drank so much liquor that night because he had been drinking from Christmas Eve. From early,
mm-hmm.
and the bars had closed, and they while he was playing his clarinet, they had two men to carry him across on their they had two men holding up his shoulders carrying him because he couldn't see, you see, and he had drank so much alcohol he couldn't walk by himself. So this picture of two men holding him up, holding his shoulders, and he's playing the clarinet at the same time with Shifley Miles and Burt Miles and playing and Elon Parr is playing the guitar, and Jim Boko playing
mm-hmm.
the mouth organ,
mm-hmm.
and Mr. Burley Ebine is playing the drums. And I have a photograph of that setting.
Yeah, there's one in the Trade Winds newspaper as well with the whole group, and they're all named on there as well.
Michael.
I think I beat J.D. Martin is in that one too.
Yes, and back and front, and all of those
mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm.
are in it,
mm-hmm.
and Bo Weeble and all of those people. And I think the last time that the march occurred in Cayman was the Easter Christmas 1977. After that, it ended. There was no more after that Christmas Eve. So people should search and they should get information from people who know these things instead of just put it in the newspaper. But he never played on a saxophone. He was a clarinetist. He was one of the best. And his rival, of course, was Mr. Kitchener-Solomon.
Okay.
And in fact, one night they were playing together in the town hall, and you know that Kitchener was upstaging Tommy, and Tommy had someone to put a jam cake up Kitchener's clarinet. And when Kitchener had taken a break and he came back on the stage, and those days the town hall had a stage, high stage, and he came up on the stage to blow his clarinet. He went up, he couldn't go because the jam cake was knocking it down. And Kitchener told the audience, he says, "I have blown and blown and blown until my eyes are bulging, and not a sound can I hear." And when he was explaining to the people what had happened to his clarinet, they had sabotaged him to give the stage to Tommy. That's what people call him affectionately, his friends and his drinking buddies and stuff. They call him Tommy, and he was a great man. He knew a lot of history too. He knew a lot of other people because he traveled to every district and he played their music. And he was just a great person. Yeah.
Yep.
So his one of his sons is Truman.
Yes.
Who works down at Puritan Cleaners.
Yes.
And he had another son.
Truman Walton,
yes. And he had another son in
Lafford.
That died in Vancouver.
Lafford, that's L with an L.
Yes, and he had some other children too. Yes. And one of his most beautiful women that he ever went out with was a one called Gloria. I think she was Gloria Rankin from East End. She was just a beautiful lady. And I can remember them following him everywhere he went to play the music. So, he never played any saxophone.
Okay, got you on that, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. You have a great day, folks. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, I will continue to read to you, unless we get a caller, about the Evening Institute that was established. Very interesting, very interesting. Yearning for education, yearning for knowledge of Caymanians. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Okay, the boards are up. And now it's time to highlight the new Proud of Them honorees.
We see Tyke's billboard up in Frankstown, but we're not talking to him this week.
This week we will be having Grace Shell Bent and Sharon Williams share their stories. You are going to be proud of them too.
Our featured artist of this week is our homegrown global performer, Josh Pearl.
I don't know much, but I know a secret. You ain't work hard, you ain't eating. Simple. I just call it how I see it. I've been working all week, now I'm tweaking for the weekend, yeah. I don't know her, but she know me, so I play cool like an OG. That's right, yeah, I make up sick to this stomach. If I want your girl, like a press one button. All it take more this money. If I get a 50, I just flip it to 100. Flip it to 100.
You can join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM, for Youth Flex, a program for all people, by and people. Youth Flex, more than talk.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. And remember, don't change that dial because while it is 9:30, we go here now on For the Record until 10 o'clock in the morning. So that means our phone lines are still open. And you can call in if you want. Talking about the Evening Institute and Teacher Macfield laying down his marker in relation to the Hotel Association, Globe and Siemens Union, and University of the West Indies, that while their contribution to the syllabus and everything would be well appreciated, and they were relying on that assumption of direct responsibility for the venture by them is not being relied on. And then he goes on to say that the subjects that will be given at the Institute are not so much the choosing of the staff as it is the choosing of the people who want the subjects. After the subjects are chosen by the people, the staff will do its best to find the instructors. The syllabus for each of the various subjects chosen will be compiled as soon as possible after the application forms are completed and returned to the school. These application forms are available at the post office, because of course in 1967 or 65 or 66, we didn't have anything like online applications or nothing like the internet at that point in time. So you could pick up the application forms at the post office in each of the various districts, and it says these forms are to reach the school by the end of the month. And he was asked them to please remember to put the words Evening Institute in the uppermost left-hand corner of the envelope. That is to make sure that it ended up at the Evening Institute. They didn't want the mail to go somewhere else at that point in time. And it says applications are free to the request, the inclusion of subjects not shown in the first press release. Persons wishing to apply for GCE subjects within limitation of the Institute may do so. For example, only hygiene and biology can be offered at present, as there is no science laboratory at the school. Furniture for the laboratory is being at present being made from the funds of the Parent Teachers Association. So Parent Teachers Association, very active in those days, and of course they were very active also in ensuring that the school was moved from the waterfront out there to its current location as well, which is now the Georgetown Primary School. It says applications are invited from persons wishing to do bookkeeping, shorthand, typing, and office procedures. It is very important to note that the following: those doing navigation must study mathematics and English. Those doing commercial subjects must do English, and those doing Spanish must do English, either in a separate class or in the same Spanish class. Applicants for Spanish are asked to indicate on the application form their preference for the way the English is to be married to the Spanish. And it goes on to say Mr. Isaac Tatum, that is the late Isaac Tatum, and a committee of the Hotel Association are at present preparing the requirements for the syllabuses in seamanship, navigation, and various relative facets of the hotel trade, and last, by the Hotel Association course. So, and there was a huge uptake for the hotel course that was being given, because, of course, at that time, that is where the tourism industry in the Cayman Islands was starting to pick up, and there were jobs that were available in the hotel industry. And interesting to point out that those days, other than general managers, everyone else in those hotels were Caymanians, front desk operators, head of household, housekeeping, or whatever. Everyone was a Caymanian, except in most instances, the general managers. Can't say the same thing today. But this is another Cayman in the same place at a different time. Okay, let's go on to the services that our newspapers provided in those days, 1965. There was a column in the newspaper that was entitled Where to Go and What to Do. Because remember now that the people coming to the Cayman Islands, had very little information other than pamphlets and things of that nature. Anything to go by, like I said before, they couldn't browse the internet to find out, about the Cayman Islands and things of that nature. So there was an article there, there was a column there for where to go and what to do. The beaches and the waters of Cayman are wonderful, but we know our visitors will appreciate some guidance from time to time about shopping, churches, and things to see and do. We hope that this column will assist. And it goes on to say for many, the fulfillment of their spiritual needs is of prime importance. And we have set out the times of services on page 8. When it comes for Georgetown and West Bay. So on page 8 of the newspaper, you could find things about the church services and stuff like that. And every publication, that was in there. There was no separation between church and press in those days. Of course, we know about separation of church and state, but there was no separation between church and press in those days. The press carried things about the church as well. It says, when it comes to shopping, Cayman offers the opportunities of duty-free shops. To assist you, we recommend Kirk Plaza with its wide selection of cameras, perfumes, and other duty-free goods. The English shop with a specialized selection of jewelry, bone china, and many other gifts and attractions, as well as alcoholic beverages. Couldn't forget those. The Calypso shop with a fine selection of women's clothing and hats and many knickknacks for your shopping pleasure. And of course, Cayman Craft. Those who are looking for cameras, Liberty of London, materials, native-made tortoise shell, and that's turtle shell for those of you who don't know who a tortoise is, turtle shell jewelry, and you can rent a bicycle at Cayman Craft to speed your moving around. Goes on to say, the Padian Beach Hotel dining room is offering a special Thanksgiving dinner this week. And that, again, like I said, was in 1965. So they were offering it. And says for after dark entertainment, keep in mind, the weekly movies sponsored by the Hotel Association held at the Beach Club Friday evenings looks like it's 8:30. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening, there is dancing at the Blue Horizon from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. to the music of Cayman's truly native band, the Martians. Seafood meals and snacks are available, and also a well-stocked bar. So, if you notice, those days, the nightclub stayed open until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think that changed after a while. It might have changed after a while, and now they may be back to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning now. I'm not sure. It says, if you should become, as many have, sufficiently enamored with the island that you want to buy land, you should see Jim Borden and Rex Crichton. Cayman Islands Realty and Development Company Limited, Mike Watler or Selkirk Watler. A must while you are in Cayman is a trip in a glass-bottom boat. Jim Borden, as manager of Cayman Canadian Enterprises Limited, can accommodate you in his new glass-bottom boat recently built in, where? Georgetown. We built our boats here then. For a delightful change, try his water taxi, hotel to town, or return. So he has a water taxi as well. It says water sailing or a sailboat cruise are also offered, and of course deep sea fishing or a lobster progging trip to Rum Point. When you are having your hair done at Lulu's, see her native straw work, hand-trimmed, and beachwear. And I was talking to a friend the other day about Lulu's, and that person was saying how they admired her for the way that she dressed and everything, as well. Okay, we have a caller, but we have to take a break first. Let's take the break, and we're going to ask that caller to hang in there. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, I am Noel March, a small business owner in Georgetown for over 20 years. Small businesses depend on government to develop a quality infrastructure and environment that encourages entrepreneurs to create and grow local businesses, resulting in the creation of jobs and prosperity for Caymanians. Small businesses help drive our economy. Just as we have supported building the new airport, we must support the building of the new cargo and cruise port. It will give our tourism industry the opportunity to grow and Caymanian entrepreneurs the chance to shine. Support the port. Support our tourism.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Once again, Miss Rose. I don't wonder what do want to call in this morning.
That's okay. They're listening because I'm reading some really interesting stuff for them, and they're taking that all in. They're taking it in.
Okay, you know I'm every time I call, and you have me call several times. It's all based on the words of Jesus himself, not just the Bible, but all from the four Gospels. All current events that are happening and everybody knows quite well. That's why I can challenge anybody to call in and say anything I say is lies or anything, because It's easily proved. And, one of my pet peeves about Cuba, because there's a lot about Cuba in the Bible and prophecies. I won't go into all that now, but there's many prophecies of Jesus himself. And education, the sleeping prophet, that shows about the future of Cuba. It has nothing to do with me. That is God doing. Yeah? But unless Americans can do something about that dictator that they are calling president, and he tries to invade in Venezuela, we're all going to have a lot of problems in the West Indies. Because I don't think the British Empire is going to make him use any Trinidad, Tobago, or Cayman, anywhere else, which are all the Commonwealth. They can't fly over Cuba. But the biggest problem is all those million people, Hispanic people that are in America. I remember when I was working public works, I told someone I could bring America to her knees in 30 days with 1,000 men. Oh, how crazy, said. But when I told him what I would do, he went pale as a ghost. Don't tell anyone that. Look at a great, powerful nation in the world, and an undeveloped country like Vietnam kicked the donkeys and said them back home. And they just keep other people's business, like illegal in Grenada, in Nicaragua. Why don't they just leave people alone to settle their problems? They can't trouble Cayman because we're a British Empire, thank God for that, which is
you think the Brits will come to our rescue if we were invaded by anyone? You think they will?
That show already with the Falklands.
It may take them a long time to get here, though.
Yeah, it took a long time to
by
get
then by then we may be overrun by the time they get here. Anyway, caller, we're going to ask you to leave us here. That's your third call for the morning. We have another caller. We're going to take that caller now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Rosie. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Well, right there, man. You really hit a lot of things this morning, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. I got to my little 2 cents worth in. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I say in 1966 was when I was a messenger at Barclays, Hello?
Yep, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Yeah.
We're hearing you.
Yeah, and, Miss Gwen's office was almost across the street at one stage, and she always... I was always interested in going to see, but unfortunately, I guess, I gotta say unfortunate because I think I missed out a lot by not going, I wanted the experience, And when I joined Barclays, they gave me a sort of like a letter or thing that when you're working for them, like nothing that's supposed to be divulged or anything to no one concerning anything that I see or hear in the bank or whatever,
Yeah, so, like a confidentiality agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sort of supposed to take anything from anyone. Like, say, I leave the bank to go to deliver a message or a letter or something. They have to sign that they received it in a little manual or book that I had. And I always had to go sometimes to Miss Gwen's office was quite frequent, And I sort of got to know Miss Gwen really well. She was a real, real nice woman, and I think she helped Cayman. She should be a hero, honestly.
Yes.
In my books, you understand? Because even though I signed this letter that I wasn't supposed to receive or do or take anything from anybody, no one. But for some reason, anytime I went to Miss Gwen's office or to drop something there, probably from something about Global Seamen's something.
Global Seamen's Union.
Right, or something. And most of the time, we were always connected with some allotment or something.
Mhm.
So that I could, see. Or it could have been correspondent anyway. I don't know about that much. But Miss Gwen was the type of person, if she asks you to do something, it's like, it's hard to really tell her no, honestly. And, like the wireless station where you had to take messages, you know where that was?
Oh, yes. Right now, in the grounds right near to where the glass house is now, where the new government administration building is in that area. Yeah. Mm.
So, if I had to go there to drop something off on the bank to her, she would say, Maxim, do me a little favor. You see when she come in with do me a little favor? She say, I just need to take this thing to the wireless station or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And boy, even though I signed this thing, I just couldn't tell a woman no.
Yeah, we hope the statute of limitations on your signing that is over now because you're admitting it publicly now.
Exactly. You can't do anything about that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be stupid.
But I believe that those lists, those things that you would have been receiving and what was going back was probably the list of the crew members, the seamen who would be going to join particular ships in particular places. Yes.
Exactly. Because most of the time that was always what it was all about.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there is something, boy. When I didn't get to attend her funeral, and in a way, I felt sorry in a way because when I heard and read about what took place, it was no. It seemed as if it was not what you call it. The hearse was no hearse. Took her body to the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
Did you attend a funeral?
No, I didn't. I wasn't here at the time.
And she it seemed as if the seamen put a casket on their shoulders and walked with her casket to the cemetery in some cemetery, which I thought was really remarkable or good for them to do something like that, But I got to say, 1966, 67, 68. Matter of fact, I ended up working with the Commandant weekly after Barclays Bank.
Okay. Okay.
And another note.
Very quickly, because we want to accommodate one more caller before we close off at 9. 10, sorry, sir.
Yeah, where the Calypso shop was first located between Dobson Hall and where the parlor was, where the parlor on the waterfront.
Yep.
My mom told me that that building, that shop started, the Calypso store, that was where I was born. So right where the Royal Water
terminal is now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is like sort of in the grounds. That's where I was born.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller, for that. We have one more caller, and I have something here about the prep school, and I want to try to read that before we end the show as well. This is very interesting in terms of the prep school and money for it. This is going to be our last caller for the show as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Well, say good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Did you get a chance last night to watch any of the State of the Union meeting there?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I did. Yeah. Tell me something. How many United States are you aware of?
There's one United States of America, to my knowledge.
Well, that's what I thought too. But why is the Democrats seem like they're in a different United States than the one that we know about?
That's all about politics. It's all about politics.
Oh my!
And if I was a Democratic supporter, I would say the same thing about Republicans.
I can't argue with that, but it's for such a great country to see the way they're fighting amongst each other.
That's what makes it great, that they're able to fight amongst each other, and at the same time they're still there.
Yeah, but
going strong.
No, it's personal. It's personal this go around, and if anybody can't see that, then, something is definitely wrong. But what is happening in America now, it's not really politics. This is all personal attacks and hate. It's not like...
And the person who started that was Donald Trump.
No. He's finishing it.
No, he started it.
Democrats started it. So. Anyway, see, I just thought I'd call you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very quickly, again, going to the Trade Winds newspaper, November 25th, 1965. Mr. Stone aims to help people learn. And it says here, 2 weeks ago, the name of W. Clement Stone was mentioned in connection with the new preparatory school in Georgetown. He was the man who so generously sparked the move for the new building by offering a substantial donation towards the construction, provided the people of the Cayman Islands matched that contribution, pound for pound. Due to the magnificent effort of a hard-working team headed by Mrs. Mary Gray, these contributions were found, and the school is now a reality. That is the prep school, what we now know as Cayman Prep, I believe. We feel that our readers would be interested in knowing more about this far-sighted benefactor, Mr. W. Clement Stone. Mr. Stone, now in his 80s, lives with his wife, Jessie, in Evanston, Illinois, near Chicago, Illinois, and has been mentioned as one of those exceptionally dynamic businessmen of the United States who has become fabulously rich by his own efforts over the past 20 years, his fortune being now estimated at not less than more than $160 million, and that is 1965. His mother, a widow, opened an insurance agency from which he has built Combined Insurance for America and other numerous successful ventures. Mr. Stone is a super salesman who is confident that he can prove to anyone that selling is a science. His creed that anyone can acquire wealth is headed up by 2 books he has written, The Success System That Never Fails, published by Prentice Hall, 1962, and in collaboration with Napoleon Hill. Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. Mr. Stone has visited Cayman on many occasions and was one of the backers of Cayman Produce Company Limited. His contribution to Cayman with built-in cooperative requirements has done much for the island and will be a continuing demonstration of Mr. Stone's aim to help people learn. We all owe him a great vote of thanks, not only for the contribution itself, but for the way in which he gave so many Caymanians the opportunity to share in his thrift of this worthwhile accomplishment. We salute him. So Mr. W. Clement Stone kicked off the start to fundraising for Cayman, the new preparatory school, Cayman Prep, and he matched pound for pound monies raised by the people of the Cayman Islands as well. With that, we will end today's show. So I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.